Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Nadia, could you please call a roll? So Lam is going to call roll.
Lam, would you like to do the roll call?
Sure, I can do that. Thank you. Chair Greenfield,
Here.
Vice Chair Lemaire,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Cribbs,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman,
Here.
Commissioner Kleinhaus,
Yes.
Commissioner Oche.
Yeah, please.
Chair, that's 7 present.
Thank you. If there are any members, sorry, our first business item is the adoption of the resolution authorizing use of teleconferencing for the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting during COVID-19, as we've done every month. Can I have a motion to adopt this, please?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cribbs. And could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chair. Chair Greenfield,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lemaire,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Cribbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kleinhaus,
Yes.
Commissioner Oche.
Yes.
Chair, that's a 7-0 vote.
Thank you. And now is the opportunity for public comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to speak, please raise your hand.
I see 2 members of public in Zoom. Susan Kemp and Judy Dang. Susan Kemp was the first to raise her hand.
Sorry, Nadia, is your mic on? And go ahead and give each member of the public 3 minutes to speak. Welcome.
Susan, you may speak now. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Susan Kemp. I'm a Palo Alto resident and a longtime and regular lap swimmer at Rinconada Pool. I'm also a member of the Friends of Rinconada Pool. In January, you were kind enough to listen to our concern about the inequitable near elimination of discounts for seniors and Palo Alto residents compared to master program non-resident and non-senior membership fees at Rinconada Pool. We were told that the pricing structure would be re-examined when the summer changes were made in June. It's now the end of June and we've seen no changes nor heard about whether the issue has even been considered. We circulated a survey to swimmers in early June. While 7 in 10 feel that the price they pay is acceptable, 6 in 10 felt that the disparate increases in prices are unfair and should be remedied. To our knowledge, no other Palo Alto Parks and Recreation program has reduced senior and resident discounts so dramatically, so this cannot simply be a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. This feels discriminatory and is harming the health of our seniors and residents. What are you doing about it? Thank you.
Thank you.
You did, Dan. Let me. Yes. Okay. You may speak now. Thank you.
Hi, board member. My name is Yudi Dan. I'm a resident of Palo Alto. So I regularly run at the Cubberley Community Track and Field. So I saw the Friends of Palo Alto Parks are raising funds to refurbish the field and track. I used to be a Parks board member at the City of Bellevue in Washington State several years ago. So I felt I should be in full support of this program. So I started fundraising in my 2 Asian American groups. The first one is the Burn Rounding group. We raised about $6,000. And the other is the Asian American Youth Soccer Academy. We raised about 2,000. So we want to do a little celebration ceremony at the community track. So we would like to invite, a few of you to attend our celebration, if that's possible.
Thank you.
No more speakers from the public.
Thank you. Thank you to the members of the public who spoke to us this evening. It's always nice to hear from the public. And it's always nice to hear positive comments as well and celebrations. Next is the next is the agenda changes, additions and deletions. Do any commissioners have anything they'd like to suggest that we change this evening? Barring any suggestions, we will move forward with the next item, which is the approval of the minutes. Do any commissioners have any suggestions or any changes they'd like to, or updates they'd like to recommend to the minutes?
Yes, Chair, I have one change I would like to recommend, and that is on page 5, line 17. And it says that Commissioner Freeman said he and Vice Chair Lemaire met with Tyler, Adam, Mark, and Miguel about some field issues. And I believe that should be Commissioner Freeman and Chair Greenfield. Is that, I believe so.
Yes, thank you. I agree. And that was one of the items on my list.
That's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I have a few more recommendations on page 2. In section 2, the approval of the previous draft minutes, the motion passed 601 by roll call vote, and we should note that Commissioner Ocha abstained. On further down on page 6, on line 37, Chair Greenfield noted an action item to appoint Commissioner Oche. I think it'd be fair to say that Chair Greenfield noted that an action item insert is not necessary before to appoint Commissioner Oche to an ad hoc committee, comma, and is something, comma, and inserted is something the chair can do based on clarification obtained from the staff. On page 9, simply missing an on line 33, just missing a C before Chair Greenfield. On page 20, in the paragraphs before, on the paragraph above, Chair Greenfield invited questions from the commission. Middle of the way through, this could perhaps be not only for the Baylands, but also cross out to be used and insert for. So for, the word for replaces to be used. And finally, on page 21, on line 12, insert the word plan after additional. So because any additional plan for ITT is going to require further consideration. And that's all my if no one else has any recommendations, can we have a motion to approve the minutes with these changes added? There's discussion.
I'll move to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Hannah. Second.
A second.
All in, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chair. Chair Greenfield,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lemire,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Cribbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kleinhouse,
Yes.
and Commissioner Oche.
Yes.
Chair, that's a 7-0 vote with the amendments. And
Thank you.
corrections.
Thank you. And I can also see that Councilmember Du Bois has joined us, and so we want to include him in the roll call vote for attendance, or just note that he is present. I think that would be sufficient. Now, the next item is the department report. If you, staff would like to, Lom, you'd like to proceed with that, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Before I begin the department report, I do want to acknowledge and thank Nadia Chuprina for joining us this evening and helping us facilitate this meeting. We've had some unfortunate health precautions that we want to ensure that we follow. So Nadia stepped in to be in person while some of us are remote. So thank you, Nadia.
Thank you. I'll echo your thanks on behalf of the commission. It's nice to meet you, Nadia, and thank you for being with us here this evening. We appreciate your help.
Thank you. Yes, with our department report. So on June 1st, our city council reviewed and approved. Another item is on the June 6th, our city council adopted the tree ordinance, which includes an update to the municipal code ordinance 2.25.050. And this is the purposes and duties of the Parks and Recreation Commission. And this update is in response to city council's direction to have staff formalize the commission's role in and input to the urban forestry issues. The commission will serve as a community forum for the Department of Public Works urban forestry section matters, and also provide feedback, recommendations, and interpretations of this to the city council on the urban forest master plan as well, and other associated policies. On June 15th, there was a committee meeting to discuss adding a skate park adjacent to the existing skate bowl, which is located at Greer Park. There were 21 participants at the meeting, and in general, all the feedback was positive and supportive of the proposed location and the process so far. The skate park Ad Hoc Committee will be meeting to prepare and bring back to the full commission this topic and potentially in July. Our tennis courts at Cubberley should be completed within the next couple days and to reopen in July. And our tennis courts at Piers are also being renovated as well. And that completion should also be by early July as well. A recruitment update impacting the department within the Division of Open Space, Parks, and Golf. We have two recruitments for the parks team. We're currently recruiting for a parks maintenance position, and we're also recruiting for a parks irrigation position. Also in this division, we are recruiting for an hourly assistant park ranger. In regards to recruitment within the Department of Community Service Department, the department is recruiting for a senior management analyst. In regards to special events, family movie nights at Mitchell Park, they are back. The movies start at 7 p.m. and are free to attend. The next movie night is scheduled for July 22nd, and to be showing will be the movie Luca. Space is limited, and pre-registration per family is required. Registration for the movie nights occurring this summer may be found at city events webpage on the city's calendar, which is at cityofpaloalto.org/calendar. On June 18th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., City of Palo Alto hosted an open house at the Municipal Service Center to showcase some of our sort of behind the scenes and what services we offer our community, and how we go about offering those services, and including what work we do for the community as a whole. This event was on hiatus during the COVID period. However, the city brought it back at this time. At the prior commission meeting in May, staff mentioned that pickleball lines on the shared use tennis courts at Mitchell were painted back on May 23rd. And the intent was to provide a color that made it easier to see the lines. We had a commissioner suggest that we asked to see how they are working, and we have since received numerous emails from the pickleball community expressing their thanks and their pleasure with the painted lines. So, and these responses came immediately, so it seems to be that it's working out at this point. Cubberley Gym A and Gym B continue to remain closed due to flooding issues in the gym crawl space and the walls. Our public works facilities is working with contractors on the issue. This does limit us to only the pavilion for all gym activities, and our recreation division staff have found other spaces to place displaced renters, including the Cubberley Pavilion as one of the facilities, and referrals to other gyms such as the Y. Our 4th of July Summer Festival is scheduled for 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Mitchell Park. There will be live music provided by Radio City All-Stars and DJ Verse. There will be food trucks. There is also going to be a kids area, including games, activities, and inflatables. A program update on Riconato Pool and Team Sheeper. Hiring is underway for group lessons, and they anticipate to offer lessons throughout the month of July. The open swim program has been a little bit slow, but participation is expected to pick up with the warmer weather arriving. Current swim lessons and summer camps are doing well, and they're reaching their capacities. There was a question at the last commission meeting on how many scholarships have been requested and awarded for swim lessons, camps through the department, and also other recreation programs as a whole. In particular, for the pool and Team Sheeper, they offer a scholarship program that is directly administered by them. And what we have some statistics to provide here. For calendar year 21, there were 36 scholarship participants who partook in 169 lessons, which averages out to about 4.7 lessons per participants through Team Sheeper scholarship program. Scholarship activity for calendar year 22 should increase, as the offering will include not just lessons, but it will also include camps as well. Programs offered through the city's community services department in recreation. There have been, we offer scholarships at different levels. At a 25% reduction level, we've awarded 9 scholarships. At the 50% reduction level, we've awarded 157 scholarships. And in regards to Foothills annual passes for low-income families, there have been 3 received and issued. We don't have the number of applicants whom we have declined. That's not a number that we currently track. However, in general, applications, people who are placing them are aware of the income level standards and where they fall in line. So for the most part, when we receive applications, they are approved. At the last meeting, there was also a question about the middle school athletics program. Currently, we are running our full complement of programs, which includes girls volleyball, boys volleyball, flag football, cross country, boys and girls basketball, tennis, track and field, and wrestling. All programs remain popular and fill quite quickly. Challenges with the program has been hiring. It's been the biggest challenge in the past and remains the biggest challenge. And unfortunately, now it's a bigger hurdle and challenge for us. We typically hire as many qualified coaches as we can, which allows us to add capacity for more students to participate. We also take in volunteer coaches to support the demand. Because the program is impacted, we are looking at a possible change to the registration process. At present, programs fill within minutes of the registration window opening. So we are assessing and looking at moving away from the current process to find another process that could possibly be more equitable, so that it's not something that fills in right away as soon as it opens up. For this particular year, our challenge in finding and hiring coaches has been much more difficult. In typical prior years, our challenge has been finding people who are available between the hours of 3 to 6 p.m. for after-school sports. And so these hours have limited the pool of available coaches or the interest in of being a middle school coach. This year, though, we've noticed it's been much more difficult in finding people willing to coach at all. We don't know whether this is associated with COVID or not at this point. Our hiring process has also been impacted by a slower onboarding and hiring process due to the citywide backlog of hiring for programs throughout the city, not just within our department, but other departments as well. It's also been impacted by a backlog of hiring due to staff turnover throughout the city. So onboarding has been a much longer delayed process. I have an update on a proposal to add a water play feature at one of our parks. Staff has discussed this, and we feel that it's better to revisit a proposal of such a water play feature, to revisit this after the drought is over. Additionally, there is a current challenge with staff time in both the community service department and in public works engineering. This is in particular having enough bandwidth to manage existing projects and ones identified in the near future, such as the CIP plan. And so thus for this particular proposal, of adding a water feature player in one of our parks, we think we perhaps should revisit this at a later time, in particular after the drought. Lastly, staff has been in coordination with the chair to establish a frequency in providing the commission public comments that are outside of the commission meeting. And with that, the department report concludes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lam. Vice Chair Lemare, I see your hand is up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a quick question for Lom when that time is appropriate.
Now's a good time.
Okay, Lom, if possible, is there a way to get a number of youth served for the junior high school or the middle school athletic programs in an academic year? I'd be interested to hear the numbers that we serve of boys and girls.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we can get that information. I'll coordinate with the recreation division that operates and runs the middle school athletics program to get that number and provide that in the future commission meeting.
Thank you.
Yes. Let me make note of that.
Any other questions, Jeff?
That is all. Thank you.
And do other commissioners have some follow-up questions for staff regarding the department report or other questions for staff? Okay. Councilmember Du Bois, do you have any comments you'd like to make? Anything regarding the work plan approval or anything else?
No, not really. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us and being here this evening. Okay, so that concludes the department report, and we're now ready to move on to our first business item, which is the Ad Hoc Committee and Liaison updates. And also this evening, consideration of establishing an urban forest Ad Hoc Committee. And I'll just say briefly, the reason for the considering the urban forest Ad Hoc is we currently have a two-person liaison role for urban forestry. There was not an Ad Hoc previously created because there was no specific project for the Ad Hoc to take on. with City Council recently adopting the update to the tree ordinance Title 8. City Council has requested that within the next year, both the Planning and Transportation Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission review the updates that regarding the tree ordinance and recommend any potential changes. And so the suggestion is now that there's a formal role for the urban forestry, a formal task for urban forestry regarding urban forestry for us to take on. I think it's appropriate for us to create an ad hoc. And so that is an action that we would vote on. And I think it would be okay to do that first. Does anyone have any discussion regarding the matter? Questions? But I'll point out that currently Commissioner Kleinhaus and I are the dual liaisons to urban forestry. And also just to clarify the update that went in that Law mentioned in the staff report, there was an update to the Parks and Recreation Commission Municipal Code formalizing our role with urban forestry. It's not changing anything that we do because there was a provision within the municipal code that allowed us to take on additional responsibilities as directed by City Council, but it seemed appropriate along with the update to the tree ordinance to formalize that change. And so that was called out, will be called out in the municipal code in for Chapter 2, where the responsibilities for the Park and Recreation Commission are defined.
Chair, what staff member from Community Services is working with Ad Hoc Committee?
Excellent question. It's Peter Gollinger, who's the urban forester
Great, thank you.
and a member of Public Works Department.
I believe we talked about this when we were doing the work plan about the process of establishing an ad hoc committee and how to get council approval for it, but I don't remember what the answer was from staff and if it needs to go back to a revised work plan, if it needs to, what the process for it was. So I don't know if you want to go into that, you know.
No, it's a good question. So in this particular case, we've been directed by City Council to take on this action. So I don't think there's any question or problem regarding us creating the ad hoc. There is a question mark in terms of adding an item to the work plan to address what we'll be doing, and perhaps Councilmember Du Bois could comment on that. Is this something that you would like to see us add an additional item to our work plan for City Council to approve at the next go around when they consider work plan updates from all of the commissions?
I mean, that may be quite a while, right? I'm not sure that it'd be a timely way to do it.
My understanding was there was talk of having a quarterly update where there'd be a single agenda item that would consider all work plan updates from all of the boards, commissions, and committees. I don't know if that's something that will happen within the next few months or not.
Yeah, well, I guess it's worth doing. It just may be once every 6 months or whatever.
Sure. Okay, so that what I would suggest is that in addition to creating the ad hoc, once the ad hoc forms, they can create a work plan item and we can bring that to the commission for approval as an action, then send it on to City Council for approval at their discretion.
Do we know if there's any items already in the work plan that could be incorporated onto that particular liaison? I mean, if we looked at that, or
there is currently no work plan items.
so nothing.
I'm sorry. There is a work plan item regarding urban forestry. That's right. There is an item to address urban forestry matters as appropriate. So that's a good point. We should take a look at it. Maybe we don't really need to modify anything. Any other discussion? Okay, then if we're in favor of moving forward with creating an ad hoc for this, we can get a motion to do so.
I'll do that. So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And can we get a roll call vote on that, please?
Yes. Chair Greenfield,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lemare,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Cribbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kleinhaus,
Yes.
Commissioner Oche.
Yes, please.
Chair, that's a 7-0 vote.
Thank you, Lom. Now that we've created the ad hoc, we can assign commission members to the ad hoc. Currently, Shawnee and I are the liaisons to urban forestries, so I'm assuming that we'll both want to stay on the ad hoc. Yes, and so, but there's an opportunity for a third person to join the ad hoc if anyone else would like to join. Or we can continue as a two-person ad hoc. So are there any other commission members who would like to be part of the ad hoc? Okay, if not, then we'll just continue, and as the chair, I can make the appointments to the ad hoc. And so Shawnee and I will move from our liaison role to ad hoc role serving urban forestry. Now we can move forward with the more regular ad hoc and liaison updates. Would anybody like to start?
Chair, before we move forward, could we look at the committees and make sure that we all have an up-to-date list, please, with the appropriate staff people, since we've made some changes? We don't need it tonight, but after the meeting would be great.
Yes, of course. We will update the ad hoc and liaison sheet, and we'll also later in the meeting talk about how there will be a link to this from the Parks and Recreation landing page. And
Excellent.
So that will get
Thank
updated.
you.
Yes. Do you have any ad hoc updates or liaison updates you'd like to share, Anne?
Yes, of course I would. I'll take the recreational opportunities and start with the Community Wellness Recreation Gym Center. As you can see, we are thinking about what's the most appropriate name and wanting to get away from just gym, because this is not meant to be just a basketball court. It's meant to serve the entire community and provide a sense of community and a gathering place that all ages can get involved in. So
I think we called it Recreation Center of Palo Alto for right now.
that's our last one right now.
Right.
So we're getting there. We're also working on our corporate documents, and we have a list of locations that we shared with people last year when we made the report, and creating a little bit more detail on each one of those locations, the pros and cons. We are talking quietly really in the community with both community members who we believe support this concept, and also council members, because we're going to need everybody involved to get involved in this. And it's probably time to think about the full commission having a discussion at a future meeting, probably not in July, but maybe August or September, because this is such an exciting project. And when there's just the three of us, it would be really nice to have the thoughts of the entire commission. So that's what I have about the gym. I just would comment that the community meeting that Lam talked about with the skate park was excellent, and the skaters were terrific, and they're very excited about moving on and having our discussion at the next PRC meeting. And in addition, under sort of my role working with the two groups, the Recreation Foundation and the Friends of the Parks. The Friends of the Parks have indicated that they would be absolutely honored to receive the funding for the skate park as a place for the community and the stakeholders from the skate park to put their money as we move to raise money for that. So I think that that's a really good thing, and it's a really good model. So I would encourage the commissioners to go on the Friends of the Palo Alto Parks website and take a look at the things that they're funding. We heard about the track program, a little bit about the track tonight, which was great to hear from the public. But I think this is a wonderful vehicle for us and a good thing to have in the future. I think that's all for me, Chair. For right now, happy to answer questions if people have them, and ask both my fellow ad hoc members, Jeff Lemire and Nellis Friedman, if you have additional comments.
Mike?
Yeah, I think you covered everything. We meet on a weekly basis, and sound like every time we meet, we come up with other ideas and other people that we should be reaching out to in the community. So I like to say that we still have momentum moving in the right direction. I think having, looking at some, how some of the other cities are approaching this, we wanted to move in that direction as well. So first of all, getting a name that people can kind of wrap their arms around, that's part of one of our main goals there and challenges, and as well as looking at the different locations and the pros and cons as it relate to those different locations.
Yes, and I would just like to add, in terms of with recreational opportunities, to kind of follow up with what Lom talked about with Cubberley. We've heard that it could possibly be at least a year for those gyms, and just to think about the tenants, and it's great that they've been accommodated, but other events that may have been looking to use those gyms in the future, and just some of the impact of that as we do think of recreational opportunities as a whole, and additionally as we think about adding capacity or building a new recreation center, and thinking about the shape that Cubberley is in, and the needs Cubberley will need going forward.
Sorry, just to clarify, Jeff, are you saying the gyms that were damaged may be offline for a year or more?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So thank you for your work, and it's exciting. But when you're doing outreach to the public about locations, I suggest that you add the Sierra Club and other environmental organizations to the community that is being consulted regarding location. Thank you.
Thank you.
And does that wrap up your?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think that's good for tonight, Chair. Thank you.
I think Tom has a question. His hand is raised.
Yeah, sorry. Tom?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think the council was told about the Cubberley gym issue, but not the extent. And I think it's pretty important that maybe a letter from Parks and Rec would be useful, just about how long it's going to be out of commission.
Good.
Do you think the letter from the commission would be most appropriate, or would that be something better coming from staff?
Either. I just think it needs to be highlighted, even if just one of you emails council and calls it to their attention. I'll certainly talk to people too, but I don't think people realize the extent.
Except for the people who are using the facility and use it. I would be happy to write an email or work with Jeff on just to send a letter to to the council, because I think it's really, really important, especially when we're thinking about spending, I guess it's already approved, the money for the roof and all of that, and the school, this elementary school kids who are going to be there for 2 years. And there's just a lot of stuff going on about Cubberley, and we're all, at least we're concerned about the fact that we're not going to be able to use it, at least the gyms, for a while.
Well, thank you for the suggestion, and we'll make sure that something gets to council upon their return from their break.
This is just a comment, and you may have already seen this in your research, but the city of Tracy is, I believe, building a multi-generational recreation center, and they had an RFP issued at the end of 2021, and they also have information on how they funded that center. So that just may be a good case study to look at and contact staff or some of their commission members.
Thank you very much. I'm aware of that center and the work that they've done. They have done some really great outreach and development with fields and that kind of thing. So they're nice to keep track of. Thank you.
Other updates? Ellis?
Yeah, the only one. So used to talking to myself. The only one that besides the recreation center of Palo Alto, has been looking at some of the fields and some of the documentation on what's happening on the fields, and I think on the soccer fields, and I think we've got moving in the right direction on that one. As far as there was some lights out, and I got some feedback on what the project is going forward with that. Then I had a meeting, I think last week with Lom on the talking a little bit, give me an update on the golf. And one question that I have is, you mentioned that you have a maintenance position open at and for the golf course. Is that the position for I guess for the vendor who's actually providing the landscaping and maintenance? Because you mentioned that they had lost some key people, and that might be something that might impact the golf course going forward.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Freeman. The two positions that were mentioned, the park maintenance position and the park irrigation position that was mentioned that the division is hiring for, is for maintaining our city parks and some agreements that we have for shared maintenance of some school district sites. It is separate from the hiring that our contracted golf course operator is undergoing.
Thank you.
And I'll just add on the fields that Mayfield and Stanford's playing fields will be closed from July 27th through August 9th, with a possible extension through August 16th to replace the infill material. And I've been out there a lot recently, and it's bad. I mean, there's just clumping globs of stuff on your feet or shoes. Hopefully you're wearing shoes.
Chair, regarding the funding opportunities ad hoc, Joy and Jeff and I met last week and talked about the past reports that have been done, and going forward in the future, we will be meeting with the staff the first week in July with the hopes of putting together a funding suggestion report that will come to the commission in July that we can all talk about and see if we can make some forward progress and get some things done. So.
Question.
That's great. And something I was going to say later, but I'll go ahead and say it now. All of the ad hoc should be working to look to bring an update to the full commission on an upcoming agenda. So we do want to make decisions and work as a body. Appreciate the work of all the ad hocs moving forward, but definitely look to figure out how to fit in the cycle. Working with the chair and vice chair to get on the agenda, and we'll look to look forward to having an update on funding at either the July or August meeting, depending on when you're ready. And there's a question.
Yeah, for funding, are you looking at state funding for restoration projects, things like that for parks? I was thinking like the ITT property, things like that. There is quite a lot of money now, and also there'll be more with the 30 by 30 campaign. And I don't know if Palo Alto has any thoughts about trying to get some of that money for our parks.
I think it's really important, Shani. I think it has to be on the list for discussion and also to see what's available out there. Post-COVID, there may be funding, but there are, I know, foundations who are incredibly interested in restoration and open space and all of that. And we have a lot of restoration needed and open space and trail fixing and all of that. And so we should be really looking at that. So glad you brought that up.
Especially we can potentially pitch the fact that Foothills Park is now open to everybody.
Yes.
And so it needs investment.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further updates? Joy, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Anne. I think you pretty much said almost everything that we discussed. And you also said we were going to present to the PLC meeting in July, I believe. Yes. We also talked about exploring opportunities to get like grant writers. I'm not sure if this is the right time to talk about it, but I just wanted to highlight that.
That's probably sufficient for now. We'll look forward to hearing more when you present to the full commission as an agenda item. Other updates, I have a few, but let anybody else go first if they like. Let's see, on the Hawthorns site, which is officially part of Windy Hill Open Space Reserve, part of Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. It's a new site, triangle shaped in proximity to Foothills Nature Preserve and Arrestadero Preserve. And it's currently closed to the public, but Mid-Penn is working on an outreach project process really to allow public access. This process is, so I'm getting feedback here. The process included outreach to the city of Palo Alto, and I've met with a project manager from Mid-Penn, along with the staff members, Darren and some of the park rangers. And one of the most interesting takeaways was the timeline on this. This is really drawn out quite far into the latter part of this decade before we can expect to have any kind of access. I'll look to get you a more detailed update. And there are going to have a task force of stakeholders put together. This was discussed last summer. They're looking to perhaps create this about a year from now. In the meantime, there were some tours available of the site open on the Mid-Penn website. Those filled up very quickly. And hopefully there will be more tours available. And if so, I will work to notify the commission. The park dedication ad hoc met with Darren to have initial discussions about a recommendation to rededicate the Measure East site, 10 acres at the Baylands as parkland. And we look forward to coming back to the commission with a recommendation in the next month or two. Seems like there's a lot of things that are potentially coming in the next month or two. The electric conveyances ad hoc met again to continue our work on working to recommend a policy for the city of Palo Alto regarding e-bikes and other electric conveyances for parks and open spaces. Part of this includes a broad survey of what other organizations are doing, and Mid-Penn is having a meeting tomorrow actually to consider changes to their their rules and where there's studies. They currently have a couple of trials in process. E-bikes. The website Ad Hoc's been meeting and we'll be presenting later this evening. And the Foothills Stakeholder Group met Shawnee and I were included in that meeting. And this is a group that meets every month or two, reviewing a range of subjects at Foothills Nature Preserve. One of the more interesting parts of the meeting was the new lead ranger, supervising ranger at Foothills, Mike Warner, gave a nice presentation. And I think we'll ask him to come to the commission so we can meet him and to get a nice presentation and update on what's happening at Foothills. Any other items, questions, follow-up?
I'll just add that I have updates, but they're on the agenda, so I'll wait for the items to come up.
Anne, you're on mute. Still didn't hear you, Anne.
Thank you. Are we to the liaisons at this point, or?
Absolutely. I was hoping they'd be intertwined, but please go ahead.
Okay, so I did have a conversation with Tim Sheepert recently about how swimming is going. I was particularly interested in the scholarships and the swim lesson program and how much we can be doing to make sure that our kids in the community are able to swim and have swim lessons. And he feels like that's going much better now. And the swim lessons are incorporated as part of swim camps, right? Part of camps right now that he's running. And I think that things are looking up in that perspective. I did hear an article, and he mentioned it, that there is a national lifeguards shortage. It's not just in Palo Alto, it's every place across the country. About 30% less lifeguards are available. So he's got about 110 new staff people working and training right now. So he feels like he's pretty much near normal. Although he'd like about 40 more people working for him. So I think that work that everybody's done with Tim Sheeper and Team Sheeper is bearing fruit now. There's still the discussion that we heard tonight, but also just in general about the pricing for the lap swimming, especially the senior discounts. Because people are feeling that that's really expensive. And so I believe that the department was going to continue to look at that around the summer. Summer's just kind of started for the swim people, so I don't think there's that much information, but it's something that we should keep track of because I know that you all know that I'm a big swimming advocate, but the fact that swimming is so good for seniors and the senior population, I think makes it important for us to make it as inexpensive or cost effective as we can while still making sure that the bills can be paid. He did mention that the baby pool will be closed, or the wading pool, I guess we call it, will be closed on Saturday because the kids are getting cut feet, which happens a lot at pools when the concrete and the is not smooth, and it just is a maintenance problem. So they're going to go ahead and work on that. I didn't exactly know how long it's going to take, but he has a good communication system with people, so the public should know about that. And, all in all, he also mentioned that his relationship with Public Works is great. And the maintenance issues that come up get resolved pretty quickly. And I also did find out that we did not get to do the family restroom yet. That was on the works and was in the CIP plan, but went away in COVID, and hopefully it comes back again. So that's my swimming report, Chair.
Thank you, and please keep us posted on the review of the fees. That is something we're interested in hearing.
Well, I think it's tough because, swimming pools and swimming lessons and lap swimming make their money during June, July, and August, and they use those funds to support the rest of the year. So I just think it's something that we should all try to keep track of, and it's good to hear from the public about it.
Thank you. And similarly, I wanted to make sure you're in touch with Yudi Deng, the speaker, so that we'll get information on the celebration that they're planning regarding the fundraising at Cubberley. Or perhaps staff will be in touch with her.
Were you asking me to be in touch with her?
I didn't know if you have any relationship with her or any of the funding.
I don't, but that Friends of Cubberley track is something that David Moss initiated and has that piece on the website, on the Friends of the Parks website. So this is a really great development. I'd be happy to reach out to her unless it's more appropriate for the staff to do it.
That's great. If you could reach out to David, that would be good. And I have seen the banner or the poster at Cubberley, and I've heard people comment about it. And I've kind of explained to some people what it's there for.
Well, I think that everybody's so happy about the track and they want to do what they can. It's well used, and so I think it's really great. So I'm glad it worked out.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, additions? Staff, do you have anything to add? Okay, then let's move on to our next agenda item. And that is the Mitchell Park Dog Park expansion. And we have Peter Jensen joining us this evening. And look forward to your presentation. So take it away, Peter, please.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can, Peter.
Okay. Seems to be flickering in and out.
Although, Peter, you do have all of your slides on the left side.
No, I know. Actually, I do that on purpose.
Okay.
I'm not sure what to say. Hang on 1 second for me. I'm having some technical difficulties here. Can you guys still see my screen?
No, it's black now with an arrow and a circle.
Make sure. Let's try this one more time. Actually, my screen has gone out. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, how about now?
Looks good, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners and council member. Peter Jensen here, landscape architect with the city of Palo Alto. I'm going to be discussing the expansion of the Mitchell Park Dog Park this evening. I'm just going to give kind of a brief overview of, of our overall dog park system, just in case some of the commissioners don't know. Currently in Palo Alto, we have 4 dog parks. As you can see on the map here, Mitchell Park Dog Park is what we'll be discussing tonight, which is about a ½ acre in size. Was for a long time the largest dog park that the city had, and is very well used. Of course, we just finished not too long ago the Pierce Park Dog Park, which is now the largest dog park in Palo Alto. We also have Greer Park and Hoover Park, which are much smaller scale dog parks in our overall dog park system. Of course, our current policy for dog parks is or for dogs in parks is that no off-leash dog activity is currently permitted in any park in Palo Alto, unless it's in a fence-designated dog park area. Citations and fines can be issued for dog owners currently if they're off-leash in parks. City is actively trying to expand the dog park system to provide areas for off-leash dog activity for the underserved areas. And what I mean by that is in 2016, 2017, when the city of Palo Alto put together its parks master plan, as part of that, we did some site analysis of different amenities in the city of Palo Alto. This is actually the geographic analysis for off-leash dog parks in Palo Alto at the time. I will point out that Pierce Park did not exist at the time. What you can see here is that the brown areas here are basically within a quarter mile of a dog park. The orange are within a half mile. And you can see they're not just specific circles, they're actually track the distance that it would take to walk there. So as you can see in Hoover, this area location over here, which is within the half mile, is actually out of the half mile area when you actually try to physically walk there.
Excuse me, Peter, would you be possible to make that larger for us?
Sure. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Depending upon your access, street access, the creeks and things of that nature can limit, of course, access. And what this geographic analysis is showing is the actual how far people are actually away from there. So you can see that we have Mitchell Park Dog Park down in the south and Hoover in the middle of town. We have Greer Park out to the east. And then you could see basically North Palo Alto itself does not have any dog park activity at all. And that's something that we did want to focus on as part of the Parks Master Plan, something that came up. Of course, we added Pierce Park. So that section right there is now has access to a dog park. And in the future, we're going to add Bowden Park, which is fairly close there. So kind of our central area of Palo Alto, we are providing accommodations for dog park areas, still lacking though in North Palo Alto. So the 2010, the city has been trying to actively pursue and expand the dog park system in Palo Alto. It's probably gone on longer than that, but I can't speak to what has happened before that. That's kind of around the time that I started with the city. The city council did prioritize the expansion of dog parks as a city goal in 2017. That came along with the adoption of the Parks Master Plan. An ongoing capital improvement project was set up as a response to that goal, which is a kind of a biannual CIP. So every other year, there's $150,000 basically set aside in a CIP, a capital improvement fund, to build new dog parks or expand the existing dog parks that we have. And of course, trying to prioritize a dog park in the North Palo Alto area, just because the central and southern sections of the city already have dog park areas. Recent projects, of course, in 2018, we did open the first dog park in 20 years in Palo Alto at Pierce Park, which is almost an acre in size, good sized dog park there. We're very proud to have that happen. And like I said, with the construction of Blue Ware Park coming up here pretty soon, we will also have a new dog park there. Future projects includes this project that we're talking about tonight, the expansion of Mitchell Park Dog Park, and future exploration of off-leash dog use areas in parks. Instead of having a devoted single-use space just for dog parks, looking at parks in general and providing areas at specific times during the day that dogs can be off leash in parks. So that's something that we will explore more in the future that you'll be hearing about more. Of course, we're here tonight to talk about the Mitchell Park Dog Park expansion. Currently, this is the current layout of the dog park. It's 24,000 square feet, a little bit over half an acre. I would say that we do try to, if we're going or trying to expand the system, 1 acre in size is a preferred size. That's just for the overall space itself and heavy use. And when you start to get to the acre in size, they become a little bit more manageable, especially if you're trying to maintain turf in that area. If you've seen the Mitchell Park Dog Park, and this is an aerial view of it, half of it is turf and half of it is decomposed granite. That is because at some points during the year, for a few months of the year, the grass area is actually closed off for use so it can be renovated and repaired. It is difficult when the dog park is smaller to start to keep turf in those areas. The current amenities that the dog park currently has, it has 2 hose bibs, which allow dogs to get water and also be washed off. It has 7 benches, 2 picnic tables, and 1 waste receptacle, and it is surrounded by a chain link fence. The scope of our project that we were looking at is basically to expand that area and make it larger than the half acre. We'd also like to look at creating a small dog park area. We do see success when the smaller dogs do have their own space. They can get a little bit overwhelmed in a larger dog park area with with larger dogs. We would like to replace the existing fencing that's currently there with a new fencing that's a little bit higher, add additional seating, relocate the hose bibs, maintain them, but relocate them in the park or the dog park so they're more optimal in their location. Reconfigure the irrigation. This is to maintain the grass that's there so we can optimize the irrigation of the grass and try very hard to keep the grass in shape. One thing that the dog park doesn't do now is it doesn't allow for the 10-foot setback, the easement from the creek. Currently, the existing dog park goes all the way to the creek. So we do want to reestablish that easement that's there. Keep the picnic area and the hilltop separate from the dog park area. In this space, there is a little hilltop that has some bench seating. The majority of those benches are donated community benches. We felt that it was better to provide the full community access to those benches on top of the hill instead of having them accessed in the dog park directly. And replace the hilltop slope grass with a different type of grass, a no-mow variety, just reduce the amount of maintenance and water for those areas that are not used as much or on the outside of the dog park itself. We did have a community meeting on May 4th about this. We did have 26 attendees. The proposed expansion of the existing dog park, as well as the addition of a small dog park, were supported by those that were attending. Participant commented on, trying to make the area as large as possible. Some definitely would like to see the hilltop and slope added to the overall design, which we can talk about a little bit, because in the iteration of a design that's newer than what the public saw, we did expand into the hillside area to get more space for the larger dog park. Of course, make it as big as possible. There is some drainage issues out there in the decomposed granite space where the area fills up with water after rain that we want to rectify. So there's not a big lake basically out there after a rain. We'd like to provide more seating, of course, and everyone was that attended the meeting was in favor of trying to maintain the grass as best as possible. And I do say that it is very difficult to maintain grass in a dog park. Really, the only effective way is to do what we're doing now and shut it down every once in a while. We hope that we can shut the turf down in phases, so areas of turf will maintain open and there'll be accessible grass throughout the year. But if you remember Pierce Park Dog Park, we tried very hard to maintain the grass that's there. And just with the amount of use that it gets and the way the dogs play and run back and forth with they just tear the grass up, unfortunately. So it is something that we're going to try to do in this dog park as well. So you can see on the left here, the existing dog park area in pink. And then on the right is the proposed expansion of the dog park. So the large dog park now would be basically this full area here. I mentioned before that we are going to move the fence 10 feet away from the creek to provide the creek easement in that location. And we're also proposing a separate small dog park area in this location here. And in between those spaces is the hilltop that you see there. That's basically where those bench seatings are located that we would like to maintain out of the fenced area for the dog park. And overall, the new dog park would be 35,000 square feet or 0.82 acres. So we're getting close to our 1 acre in size. The small dog park would be 4,000 square feet with about 0.1 acre. That seems small, but for smaller scale dogs that usually use a dog park, that's a good size for them. And then so the overall increase is of 0.36 of an acre, almost a full acre if you add the small dog park and the large dog park together. Definitely small dogs are still invited to use the larger dog park area. That's mostly owner preference. We just want to be able to provide the opportunity for the small dog park area to be there as well. And again, this kind of goes through what the scope of was. So expanding the current dog park, which would be this area right here, create a separate dog park, replace the existing fencing that goes around the dog park. We have currently a 4-foot tall chain link fence there now. We want to increase that to 5 just to help maintain any balls or toys or anything like that, or dogs that may jump out of the dog park area. We'd like to, of course, replace the gates and maintain our double entry gates, which is a safety feature. Add additional seating, so 2 benches to the big dog park and 3 to the small. Relocate the 2 hose bibs in the big dog park area to be in more optimal locations and add 1 to the small dog park area. Reconfigure the irrigation, which is a large part of this project, really to make the turf area successful. It does rely on irrigation, which is a real tough thing to talk about these days, especially in a drought, but the better coverage and the newer types of irrigation products help us to reduce water, but they also help to disperse the water more evenly through the space, which helps the grass grow. I talked about the 10-foot easement there that we're going to lose a little bit to reestablish what should have been there from the beginning, the creek easement. The picnic area, of course, which exists here, and the hilltop area that exists there to be outside. So those are still able to be used by the full community. And then where the dog park is, the area outside the dog park that is currently existing grass that is mowed, we are proposing to maintain it as grass to keep the current kind of aesthetic feel of the space, but we'd like to change that grass to a no-mow variety, which basically reduces maintenance quite a bit and also actually reduces pollution quite a bit. You would be surprised how much pollution is created by a lawnmower. And of course, it has a little less water use because it is a little longer and is able to hold water at the soil level. This slide shows the proposed servicing of the different areas. We are going to maintain the decomposed granite in the larger dog park in this area. We're going to maintain the existing grass area that's there currently, and then add on to that grass area with new seeded grass and irrigated grass in this location. The small dog park also gets grass. There is a frontage along the walkway of decomposed granite. That's just to help maintenance, easier to trim the grass underneath the fence when it has an edge and between the sidewalk and the actual grass area. Area. Most of it is on a more slope space and really is not used for any programmed activity. So again, for environmental purposes and for maintenance purposes, we've changed that to a no-mow, basically grass there. Our overall project schedule is to return to the PRC either next month or the month after with a park improvement ordinance. Of course, that would go to council for the PIO to be adopted. We are currently working on the actual construction and bid package to be able to send it out to bid once the PIO is approved by council at its second reading. The project hopefully will be built in the fall, I would say. That's when we'd like to see it go, and open sometime either at the end of this year or the first of next year. So that's kind of our overall timeline with the project itself. So with that, I'll take questions and comments from the commission.
Thank you, Peter. And I want to ask if there's any members of the public who would like to comment after the commission has an opportunity for clarifying questions. And I also wanted to give Commissioner Brown, who's the dog park liaison for the commission, an opportunity to add anything that you might think is appropriate before we go into clarifying questions.
Just want to comment on the outreach that Peter has done, both with dog park stakeholders, community stakeholders, as well as city stakeholders. Obviously, you've heard him talk about maintenance and function of this area a lot. So I just want to applaud him on the outreach that was done. There were a lot of people involved in making all these pretty pictures happen. And so I just want to give him kudos for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a clarifying question.
Thank you, Peter, for keeping that little hill with the benches outside of the plan for expansion. There are a lot of people on that hill often and almost all day too. And it's really nice. People use the benches, old people and people with babies. It's really nice to see. Do you need to build a retention wall? If dog activity up and down that hill becomes, a lot of dogs running and playing and people going up and down at the lower part of that hill, in that expansion area, there is a slope. And I was just wondering if you need to support the hills so they won't fall down in any way.
No, the overall slope there is, it's not overly steep. We don't anticipate any degradation of the slope. The grass will definitely assist with that. There's also some existing trees along there that will be remained. Our initial plan, actually, the one that was previously shown to the community, had the fence coming down here further and not capturing as much of the slope as we are now showing. That was just one request, or actually several requests by the community to try to make the dog parks larger and incorporate some of the slope into the dog park itself. Our design considerations doing that, we're trying to keep the all the slope that's in the dog park, really either on the top of the mound or coming down slope. Really in this section right over here is the only section that's down slope. And what I mean by that is that if you just threw a ball basically here, it's either going to come back down the slope, and you're always basically in view of your dog. If we had expanded it further down here, you could, possibly throw over the mound and then kind of lose track of the dog and the ball all at the same time. So we try to control that as far as just the use goes. Of course, if you did throw it up here far enough and it got to the top of the slope there, then it would roll down to the fence. So we tried to minimize that from happening as much as possible. The other thing too that occurs on the corner out here, which I didn't mention, is there is a redwood tree that's here that was dedicated to community, a member a long time ago that we would maintaining outside of the fenced area.
Thank you. I see that Commissioner Cribbs' hand is up, but before she goes, I want to just ask real quickly, the no mow grass, it would only be added in areas outside the dog park, if I understand
Yes.
correctly. And so that area would be down for a period of time for seeding. And then it would be regular grass similar to what's planted in the other area of the grassy dog park right now. And why is that? Because the dogs trample on it and they need something that, why the difference, please?
The no-mow grass just doesn't have the durability as regular turf grass does. Turf grass has been engineered by humans for a long time now, so it's definitely what we will be using there as far as seeding that area will be built for a lot of heavy foot traffic and things of that nature. I would say though that usually grass fields in Palo Alto actually become a mix of 7 weeds. That's what we imagine will happen to the dog park area. That is actually the toughest of all the grasses once it's mowed. The no-mow just doesn't have the capacity to withstand the dog use. It's just too fragile for that.
Okay, thanks. So you're just taking advantage of the maintenance opportunity and the funding to change the grass out for easier maintenance overall.
Yes, and usually those sloped areas aren't really used for a lot of play activity, throwing a ball or kicking a ball around. They're mostly made for sitting on or more leisure type activities, which denotes the use of the no-mow grass as well.
Yes, it's a lounging area. Thank you. Anne?
Yeah, mine isn't a clarifying question, so we can wait till after the public. I just want to ask about funding.
Okay, do we have any more clarifying questions?
Yeah, I just want to tag in on the I guess no mow grass and the other grass. Is the intent to keep the existing grass? And if so, I guess with the no mow grass, will that impact like drainage? Is that something you've looked at as well?
The no-mow grass is all on basically sloped areas, so it won't have any impact on drainage at all. Am I answering your question, or is there?
Yeah, I think so. So you will keep. So the intent is to keep the existing grass as well, right?
Yes. During the process of the construction, we will overseed or reseed the existing grass area with the new grass seed. So pretty much the entire area will be reseeded with grass. Once it's irrigated, of course, the existing root system that's there of the grass, the existing grass will also germinate and come back very quickly as well. So with the seed and with the existing root system and a more optimal irrigation system, we think that we can grow a pretty fair and tough grass basically out there to survive. This area, of course, is, as far as the grass area, is a lot larger than what we had at Pierce Park. Pierce Park had about 0.25 of an acre of grass, and the rest of it was mulch. That area just was not big enough to sustain the grass. We're going to cross our fingers. I can't promise anything. It's just basically about use that the grass will be able to survive. And again, because it is a bigger area, we do have the option of closing down segments of it for times of the year to regrow it again as well, which will help that too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shani.
Yeah, is this picture to scale, the one we're looking at?
Yes.
So the 10 feet where is the mulched area, and how wide is the stretch along that apartment housing behind there? How wide is that? Where there's some trees?
Well, this area in here, it's like 15 feet wide.
15 feet, okay. And does that belong to the city or to that apartment building?
That is parkland that's over there. City
Okay.
land.
So that is a city property, and that is on where the trees are on the other side of the fence here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you get to see them there.
Right. Well, I know the park. I take my dogs there. So the other question I have is about the grass. The no-mow grass, can you repeat the name?
I mean, a no-mow is a generic term just for grass that is not mowed. We are going to be specifying a California native meadow mix, mostly of Festuca californica, the native fescue of California. It also has then a couple other types of grasses mixed into it. Always hardest to keep a monoculture alive. It's definitely been proven best to have a mix of different grasses in that. So they all look the same. You can't really tell them apart. Some do a little bit better in shade than others. Some do a little bit better than slope. So depending upon its growing environment is where a specific variety will establish itself more. But the mix is a native California grass mix.
That's great. And the next question on that is, what happens if that area gets mowed by mistake? What happens to that?
Well, it depends mostly on the time of year. If they mow it right now, that would be the worst because no mow grass, it's about 10 to 12 inches long, and it kind of lays over on itself, and it basically shades itself in the soil there and maintains water. And when you start to cut the top off of it, it reduces the amount of shade that it's giving itself, and it impacts the grass. If you mow it in the fall, it actually has some benefits to that type of grass because it does allow it to strengthen itself and grow a little bit thicker in the cooler time of year. Hopefully we get some rain that will help out as well. So there's no fault mowing it. It's just kind of the time of year when it is mowed is the more particular thing about it.
Thank you.
Joy, did you have a clarifying question before we move on to comments?
Thank you very much, Peter, for the presentation. I know a lot has gone into the work already. I just wanted to find out, make a clarifying question about if we'll be adding like, I know it's like a no-brainer, right? For large dog, small dog, but if we'll be adding like a small signpost to differentiate both parks for the community to be able to differentiate, where large dogs go and where small dogs go.
Well, like I said, the dog park, the larger area is mostly, and I shouldn't really call it a big dog park, it's just mostly a dog park. So if you're okay with your smaller dog and your smaller dog is okay with playing with larger dogs, then they can use that area as well. Most small dog owners, and I'm talking about fairly small dogs here, so in the 5 to 10 pound range, basically, like to have the smaller area. Just because the big dogs, especially if you get a lot of them out there, can, kind of run around and intimidate the smaller dogs a little bit. So We do have signage that will be put on the fence that will explain that the small dog park area is actually only for small dogs. It is actually restricted and is not for larger scale dogs.
And this would be the same that's currently being done at Pierce Park?
Exactly. Yes. So Pierce Park is the same thing. Pierce Park has a small dog park as well. And it has informational signage on the gate that basically explains what the small dog park is should be used for, besides the dog.
Thank you. I think we're now out of clarifying questions. I just want to clarify what our role and goal is this evening with this discussion item. And this is a preliminary review for the commission of the dog park plan, which will return to us within the next month or two for a recommendation of the park improvement ordinance, or PIO. And so this is the preliminary review, and this is an opportunity to voice your input for suggestions on how to potentially change the proposal for something that you would like to adopt when it comes to us next time. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Peter or Mandy?
No, that's exactly that was a good summary of what we're here for tonight.
Great. Then Mandy, do you have any comments you'd like to start off with as our liaison?
Was there no public comment? Or?
I'm sorry, is there any public comment? I didn't see
I
any
can see
last
that
time.
Commissioner Cribbs has her raised hand, and then there is no members of the public.
Okay, thank you. And since Mandy's the liaison, I'm going to give her the opportunity to speak first. Then we'll go to you.
Absolutely. I was happy to wait until I'm ready. So.
Well, as we're seeing, I think this accomplishes a lot of goals in terms of expanding the dog park access, restoring the easement, reducing maintenance costs, reducing water use. So it's wearing a lot of hats, and we appreciate the efficient use of the space. I also think that having the separate small dog area is a positive. I go to Pierce Park often, and I personally apologize for any damage that my dog did to that turf, because I'm sure he's responsible for a lot of it. But having the small dog next to the all dog area is great for some dogs, but there's also a lot of yapping that goes through between the chain link fences. So I think this is a great plus for the community to have a separate space where those dogs can feel safe and play. And the hill actually lends itself a little visual barrier too, to add a little extra screening. So I think that is something that will be very positive for the community. The one question I have about the non-functional turf is, the no-mow grass, is because we have the state order about not being able to water non-functional turf, which in this diagram would be the no-mow grass. If that order is still in effect when this construction would be going on, I know you said it was low water, but I imagine it's not a no water turf. How would that impact the installation, and would that just be phased in over time?
Yeah, it is something that we would definitely take a look at. I can't say how we would treat it now. I'd have to talk more with staff about that. That's something we can bring back with the PIO. I would say if we decided not to seed that area with the no-mow grass, that we would probably mulch it in the short term just to protect the soil, and to there are trees still growing there. And then come back at a later date when the opportunity arose to seed the area.
Okay, that's great. And thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Now to you, Anne.
Oh, thank you very much, Peter. I was just interested if there was anything that you or the other stakeholders really wanted to see in this dog park that you couldn't afford, that had kind of fallen out of the plan. And I say that because we're thinking about the dog park funding at the Friends of the Parks. There is the fund there that the dog owners started to put money in. And so this might be an opportunity to utilize that if there was something that you didn't have the opportunity to do.
I'm sure there's more site amenities that we could definitely put there. The area could definitely have more seating, more benches, things of that nature that could be added. We did try to reduce some of those things because our budget is $150,000. We're pushing that right now. I would also mention that there is a chapter of the Girl Scouts locally that actually want to do some fundraising for the dog park to add some dog park amenities, more like dog park play equipment, really, what they're interested in. So we're working with them to assist them in that endeavor. Could add a couple more pieces to the park itself. I would say it would mostly be site amenities. I think overall the areas and the size of the area and the fenced in areas are kind of maximizing what we have out there. So mostly would be on the inside of the dog park and adding other things.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the work.
Thank you.
Nellis?
I think you're good job on this, and I know that we have a lot of people in the community who are pleased that we're expanding the park and also taking care of the little people there, the little animals, the little dogs. But it's I kind of paired what Ann said about if there's anything that was left out and kind of taking this time to take advantage of that and add those things that we need to add. But it sounds like from a community perspective, people are pretty much on board with the direction. I guess now just kind of tracking once everything's approved and how much time it's going to take and keeping everyone aware of what the timing is on that. I think it's one of the things that people are going to be looking at once it's approved is how quickly will things start moving. So good job. Good job.
Our goal is to make this happen fairly quickly. We'd like to see this happen within the next, 6 months, basically. So
good.
Joy? Do you have any comments?
I was just trying to figure out if the expansion might qualify for like ISI verification. That's what's going through my head at the moment. I would find out and also, see if it's something that's possible that could be a great stamp for the city project. Those are my thoughts.
And Joy, could you comment a little bit more about what ISI is?
So it's the Institute of Sustainability Infrastructure that I'm a member of. And it's a third-party verification for infrastructure projects. So cities explore that opportunity to get like a stamp, like it could be platinum, it could be gold, it could be anything based on following a checklist that the project, ticks compared to the baseline of what it was when the project started. So it might be a great way for us to explore that. And I would look into it and give us feedback.
Thank you. And Peter, is that something that you're familiar with?
no, it is not. But Joy, if you could send me the requirements for the different levels of, just because this is one project that we're working on, we have a lot of projects that we work on. We just worked on Rinconada. We're going to build Boulevard Park here pretty soon. We could definitely look at those things and see if we can check some boxes off those things for that.
I definitely will. Thank you.
Johnny?
Thank you. I want to go back to the Palo Alto Parks, Trails, Open Space and Recreation Master Plan and go to the principles, which was the first thing that the park plan has. And it says playful, healthy, sustainable, inclusive, accessible, flexible, balanced, and then it says nature. And nature couldn't really fit into something that is below, like sustainable, playful, healthy. All these things didn't fit in. And the reason it didn't fit in very well is because it really needs to permeate everywhere. And so if you look at the goals of the goal number 4, included protect natural habitats and integrate nature, natural ecosystem, and ecological principles throughout Palo Alto. And then it has a few policies. Some of them are more specific to open space, but a lot of them are actually looking how to integrate and permeate the entire city in everywhere. So it looks at connect natural areas, open space, creeks, and vegetated area in parks, on public land, to create wildlife, bird, pollinator, and habitat corridors, plant native oaks, promote, expand, and protect habitat and natural areas. So note expand in parks. And there are a lot of other policies in the Parks Master Plan that cannot really be reached unless they're looking system-wide. And it's the same for the Urban Forest Master Plan. I didn't pick up all the policies that are relevant here, but they're there. And there's some in the comprehensive. Most of those, I was on the Citizen Advisory Committee for the comprehensive plan and the stakeholder groups for both Parks Master Plan and the Urban Forest Master Plan, and not only in Palo Alto, in some of the other cities. So the way I look at this issue of how do you put nature in a city park, and today there is like a huge conference, international conference on this, and I wish I had the time to watch it, but it really is the connective tissue. What makes us love our parks, putting some nature, seeing a bird, seeing greenery. When we put a lot of fences and we cut the park into interest areas, we have to compensate for that, for increasing the pie. And what do I mean by that? We also, well, I want a dog park, and I want a pickleball, and I want a tennis, and I want a skate park, and everybody wants a piece of it. And there's not a lot, right? Because land is limited. So unless if we're going to share that pie, it's always going to get smaller and smaller slices. We have to expand it. How do you expand the pie in a limited area? You enrich it in a way that when you take one place, you also create inside it that enrichment that compensates for the fact that now it's only one group that can use that area. Now I'll get back to the question about the area near the creek. Creek corridors are vital to sustain our ecosystems everywhere. And even when they're made out of concrete, like this poor little creek, which hopefully one day we can find a way to do something better than that. But even when they're concrete, they still have water in them. They're still used as corridors, amazingly enough. And the area around them is a wildlife corridor. So when you look from an ecological point of view, you usually look at about 100 feet to 300 feet where you want to enhance the habitat. How would you do it here? I would look at this and say we have an opportunity along that creek to take another 15 feet and not put grass on them, and instead plant trees. So you have 10 feet of mulch because they demand it from the water district. I get it. I don't get it, but never mind. And then add another 10 or 15 feet of no grass. It doesn't mean the dog can't go there. It provides shading in the long term. A tree that is planted there today will provide for the people who sit there much later. And maybe the few bold sections on that other easement where there are some trees there, you can add a few more. I see people in that park with their dogs sitting in the shade. Dog park is a huge amenity to a community. People connect, talk about the dogs, their children, then they, become friends. I have friends from the dog park. I think it's a really important amenity, but providing shade near a creek in a natural area or restoring a little bit of that nature, I think in this park is critical. So I would look for another 15 feet along that whole stretch and put trees in there. And even if it means that it's a little bit more difficult to maintain, the long-term benefit, and if you look at the Urban Forest Master Plan, which I know you have, and it talks about how South Palo Alto is losing canopy, hemorrhaging canopy. Here is an opportunity to put a little bit of it back. And we should do that wherever we can. So if there is a project already in process, and I know you do it anyway, but I want to see it in this one. And I know you do it. It's not like I'm not recognizing the amazing amount of work that you've done in the transition to native plants. I would think this area along the creek could have maybe black elderberry or some plant that belongs there. Could use some of the water in the grassy area, maybe not too much. Or, you know a lot about trees and you can choose something else. But I'm looking to see trees in this plan. And the other thing I want to say, I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about this first. I think, adding trees will improve the dog park, will improve our connection to the dog park, will make it loved. And I don't know that it's loved now. And I don't know how to express it in a better way. I have more comments, but maybe I should take a break and let other people respond to this if they feel like it.
Peter, could you move the cursor where Shawnee's talking about so we just are all sure?
I think talking about the edge along here.
Okay, so the closer edge to the actual park, not on the other side.
I think we're
Closer
talking
edge
about
to the creek, basically.
the area bordering the creek.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have some comments, but I'll wait till I and include them in what I'm going to say. Jeff, do you want to have a turn?
I just want to thank Peter for his work with this and his always creative designs. And I do appreciate the separation of the dog parks, as Commissioner Brown had noted. Just quickly, in terms of users displaced, and having walked around there, I don't think it was heavily used, the areas that you're expanding into, but if you could speak a little bit to that, as well as to the impact of the dog park as it encroaches on the benches at the top of the hill.
I don't really have a lot of data about the users in our expanded area. I would say it's definitely is limited because it is mostly slope and hillside that's there. So it would be difficult to, again, kick a ball or throw a ball around on over there. Mostly used for passive kind of seating on the grass, picnicking in those areas. We are still maintaining, though, a good amount of that around the edges, so that can still take place out there. Currently, right now, this area has where the expansion has some irrigation issues, so it's mostly is kind of dead grass and dirt right now. So I don't know if it's being really used or utilized in any way. The upper hillside area where the pathway kind of comes up here and then it terminates at a kind of the hilltop. You can see the bench seating that's up there. That would remain open. People do definitely sit a lot up there. It gives you a good vantage point of the park. We'll give you a good vantage point of the dog park as well. We'd like to, of course, maintain that and keep that open to the community without having to go through a gate to get to that point. The other factor, of course, up there is that those benches are dedicated kind of community benches, and we felt that it was better for the community that we kept that space open and not within the fence line of the dog park itself.
Thank you. And thank you for all your excellent work you always do with your designs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for the presentation and all the thoughtfulness that's gone into the design and the working on outreach with the community and with staff. A couple of things that just come to mind real quickly that I like. I like the YAP buffer, as Mandy has pointed out in different terms. I like the idea that the small dog park is in view of the Magical Bridge area. I think that's of interest to the kids playing in the area, and to be something. It's across the creek, but they can see it and enjoy that. I'm assuming that we're not looking to add a new dog park rather than upgrading an existing dog park, because there's no immediately obvious viable alternative or location to add a new park. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically, as far as expanding our curb dog park system, this is kind of the low hanging fruit that's there. We have a large facility already that has the opportunity to be expanded for more dog users. So, just to help expand the system, we felt that this was a good direction to go. We will definitely still be working to find places to have either more dog parks or maybe some off-leash pilot programs in other parks in the future. But like I said, this is kind of the low-hanging fruit that we can go after first, that we know we can make an impact on the system and get some more space for dog users.
Thank you.
It's also a bonus that Mitchell Park is one of our regional parks, so it has some other amenities that some of our smaller neighborhood parks don't have, like parking and restrooms and things of that nature that, kind of denote having facilities like this in those parks.
Thank you.
I'll just add that I know Darren was looking into a potential new dog park area in the downtown north area. It's just very preliminary, and it involves other community partners too. So it's being talked about.
And my point is, this is the $150,000 to spend every other year, and so we'd be a couple of years away from doing something else, but that's okay. The small dog park is all grass, so would that be closed periodically?
That depends really on the use. This dog park is about 3 times the size as the Pierce Park Dog Park. We, again, are hopeful with our fingers crossed the grass can be maintained in there. Because it is bigger, though, it does provide the opportunity that if you have to close half of it at some point to restore the grass, that you could start to segment it off and still leave some of it open and usable. So that's basically how we're treating it now.
Okay, so the thought is you'll close it if you need to, but if you did close it, you wouldn't be closing the whole thing and forcing the small dogs into the regular dog park. There'd be
correct
half of it or roughly left open. Great. Would you consider a lower fence for the small dog park? I appreciate Commissioner Kleinhaus's comments that more fences aren't a plus, and that is a pretty visible corner there. And having it seems like perhaps the 4-foot fence or whatever's the fence height at the current Mitchell Park Dog Park 3 foot maybe would suffice for small dogs.
But we could definitely take a look at that. I think that's a great suggestion.
Thank you. I do also appreciate Commissioner Kleinhaus's comments about shade, and people do gravitate to shade. I was out there today looking at the area and been by, and people, more trees is a benefit. I think the idea of adding a tree buffer along the creek makes a lot of sense, or if not trees and some sort of natural planting in the buffer area, and potentially increasing it and growing it into the dog park area. I know there have been concerns about oaks and dogs in the past, and not sure what the thoughts are in terms of what trees would be best to plant in an area where there's dogs, but it seems like if we're able to add trees, it'll be a benefit over time. With respect to trees, it would be really helpful in the diagrams to get better clarification where the existing trees are and where any new trees would be, we'd be looking to add them. For example, in the new dog park, so that currently there's 4 trees in the general area. One of them is a mayor's tree. That's the western sycamore, which is the 3 trees that are along the pathway. It's the one on the right, and then there's a couple of tupelo trees next to it. Those trees would be within the dog park.
Yes, they would be actually.
Okay.
Let's see. Screen is still not working here. I was going to show you a Google Earth of the location, but let's see it here. Let's see if I can get it to open this way. Well, I'm not quite sure. Well,
I could share my screen, which I've got a tree plot, if you like. Or
trying to do it.
actually,
if you have something faster to show, though.
I'm not logged into Zoom. I'm like,
no, it's okay. I think my bandwidth is being used up by the Zoom, which is why the Google Earth doesn't work. But yes, for the PIO, when we come back, I will have an exhibit showing the existing trees basically out there. The majority of them being redwood trees. Most of them are probably 15, 20 years old. They're not overly large yet. There is one large scale native oak tree, a Quercus lobata, that is out at the location. My only comment with the planting trees, I think along the edge and in the NOMO area would be fine for planting trees. Trees definitely are hard in grass area. Usually the weed whipping and mowing take their toll over time on the trees. The other thing that the trees do is create shade, and shade usually is not the most optimal aspect for growing grass. So there's a hard kind of trade-off there. If you overly shade the area, you're going to impact basically your turf growing capacity in that space. So we just have to be mindful where we locate the trees. So they're providing shade for the users, but not reducing the amount of turf that the actual users want as well. So
yes, I get it. It's a balancing act. And so in the corner on the path leading towards the Magical Bridge, there's the forest green oak, the Quercus frenetto. Is that in the dog park or not?
It is. It sits right on the corner up there, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't tell if the note was in. The redwoods on the hill are not doing well. And so I'm wondering if that's a consideration as far as including them within the dog park area. I mean, do you think we're going to lose? I mean, the younger ones. There is another there's an older mayor's tree from 2003 that's right on the border of the dog park. The current dog park, fairly close to the playing fields. That's an older redwood.
Well, the redwood trees enjoy water, so they really like water. So if we can get the irrigation operational out there to maintain the grass, it's going to give them a better environment for them to thrive in. Definitely right now they are struggling because that area, I'm not sure if the irrigation is turned off or it's just not working in that space, but it's they need and require a continuous feed of water to maintain them. So having them out in the grass area there is perfectly fine and will benefit them in the long run.
So thank you. That would be great if there were help there. I'm also wondering about the layout of the kind of the bottom left corner of the dog park area where it's going over the flat area as opposed to just keeping the border on the down slopes. I'm just trying to understand what the trade-off is for including that or not. And I'm also a little concerned about the buffer between the bench areas and the dog park. There won't be much of a buffer, and it seems like those bench areas are losing a bit of solace.
I mean, yes, the dog park's definitely going to encroach and be closer than it is now. So like the current line is there at this point. So definitely the dog activity will intrude into the, more the dictating factor for not pushing the dog park over into this area was there is a redwood tree there that is dedicated that we didn't want to put the fence around. And like I was saying earlier, the just, playing in the dog park, either throwing a ball or whatever it is that, once it gets over the top of the hill, then it's just going to go down the hill to the back of the fence. So we were trying to control that as much as possible and optimize the play area without your ball or your dog just having to basically run over to the fence to get the ball every time.
So actually, my question was related to not actually expanding the dog park area, but making it a little bit smaller and kind of cutting it off before it got over that hill or at the hilltop. I'm not clear what the benefit is of having the hill area for the dogs in general. Is it the dogs like to run up the hill, or is how much is this usable area? And to the extent if it's not so usable, is it beneficial to include a little bit wider buffer between the bench area and the dog park on the hillside, and kind of maybe just have it kind of go straight down, sort of like where the second.
Well, I think the upslope will be definitely used by the dogs running up there. So I think that the majority of this space is fine. It's mostly this area right in here where we could bring the fence around that topo and keep that outside the fence to help buffer the picnic area would be a spot to reduce the space a little bit. But over in this area, definitely, I think it'll be used just like it was a flat area of land.
And I do know that these lounging areas are appreciated periodically when there's things going on in the park and there's soccer tournaments and things like that. People are looking for places to hide out, and they are used and appreciated, not as heavily as other areas, but it's nice to have escapes within a park.
Right, and that's why we kind of wanted to keep some of the area outside of the fenced area so that could still, activity could still be maintained. And so that you could view the larger portion of the park from this side, looking out that way, without just bringing the fence all the way down to the edge and incorporating the entire area.
Thank you. Others have follow-up comments?
I guess I'll just repeat that 15 feet of less grass along that buffer from the creek and planting trees should be really considered very seriously. And I like the lower fence that Chair Greenfield proposed. I think this is really a gateway right by the bridge. And I'm not sure that the visual impact of that section, and it's really two dog parks. I mean, I guess why I understand why it's done this way, but I'm not sure that all the other users in that area are aware that this is happening. And I'm not sure how, like, if you ask the dog people, oh, do you want to take that area too? They'll say, yes, of course they do. But I'm not sure that the other users of the park will see that as an area that is not important to them. And there is level of serenity on that top of the hill that will be lost. So
Peter, is it possible to put some signage up in the area where the small dog park is being considered, and also in the bench area on the top of the hill that would become close to the new dog park, and give people information on how to get on an email list for updates and to understand when this will be coming back to the commission.
Definitely.
Thank you. That's something I was thinking about earlier as well. I'm interested in hearing from the other commissioners what you think about the buffer, increasing the buffer along the creek. It's an interesting idea. That I think it's worth considering and weighing the pros and cons on. I'm interested in other thoughts and also I think it'd be helpful for staff to hear.
I think that the easement size was likely done for a reason, and I see no reason that we should shrink the dog park. That was something that came across very clearly from the communities. They wanted it as large as possible. I actually think having the benches, the picnic area kind of close to the dog park is great, because at Piers right now, there's some families that go and the kids don't necessarily want to be run over by all the dogs the whole time, and there's nowhere for them to really go and the parents to keep an eye on them because the playground is around the corner and they don't really have a good sight line. So I actually think this would be a very compatible use, and I like the footprint that's proposed. I think that using some of the funds from either the Girl Scouts or the Friends of groups for trees would be a possible way to incorporate more of the trees. I think that's a great comment by Shawnee, and it always adds to the scenery, and I think it would be very beneficial to this project. And if they don't necessarily want to fund trees, maybe the trees come from the city budget and then they can fund the benches. There could be something that's worked out to be a partnership so that everybody feels like they're contributing the way they want to. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna, I really like the, I like the footprint and the way it looks, but, and just to tag on to what Shawnee said about the trees, I think we just have to be careful about the size and the amount of shade shade's important, but also not, taking away from some of the real estate and some of the grassy area. So, there's different heights of trees that can be maybe investigated, but I think adding a good row of trees, and providing shade over time, and being aware of the height of those trees would be something to keep in mind.
Thanks. And just to clarify, Mandy, what you said as far as the adding the 15 feet or whatever, I think the thought was that would not be taking away from the dog park area. That would be, maybe it would be a non-grassed area on the border where the trees could go in that would still be part of the dog park.
Where the mulch area is now.
Well, the mulch area, we need the 10-foot setback.
Right.
So I think the idea is to extend the mulch.
No, not mulch or just dirt for another 15 feet from that buffer. So you take another 15 feet with no grass, but it's not taking it out of use. And you put some trees there.
I think that's more of a question for Peter if that can be done. So I would defer to staff.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we definitely will explore, yes.
Great, thank you.
Good.
Jeff or Ann, do you have any further comments?
I do not.
The only thing that I would add is what's already been said. I think it's great to look for the opportunity to plant as many trees as possible, as long as Peter tells us that we are, that things are compatible with what he's planning there already. And I think that we should keep the dog park as big as possible, because that's what we heard loud and clear from the community. So I think this works, and I'd love to hear Peter come back with some options for trees and what problems they'll bring with them when we have a discussion again. So thank you.
Thank you. Joy, you do have some comments.
I'm just going to re-echo what Shani's recommendation, and also Commissioner Freeman. The fact that we'll be planting trees will also be a big plus for us to be able to get the sustainability awards I mentioned earlier. So I think it's a great idea in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, do you have any further questions for us?
I don't have any questions, but I do have just a little announcement, which actually kind of goes along with your next topic. Staff has put together a dog parks webpage. I believe it did go live today. This is the webpage. That's the /dog parks. It does two things. It's basically informational about our current dog park system. And then it also has a projects about dog parks. So information from the Mitchell Dog Park expansion, this presentation, as well as the other community presentation will be located at that spot. It does use the map that we looked at earlier to call out where the dog parks are. Currently, right now, we don't have a dog park page. So if you searched for dog parks in Palo Alto, they come up, but it's kind of haphazard and uses different platforms to talk about different ones. So now there is an official dog park page, web page that basically calls out, describes the dog parks, their size, their amenities, and then talks about our current and future projects of expanding the system. So this is something that's new that just came online recently.
Peter, this is great. And it's nice to see this. Is there any kind of possibility to put a little tiny sentence about if you'd like to contribute to the dog parks, you can go to and direct people to the Friends of the Parks, or can we not do that?
I'll have to talk to Darren about that. I don't see why not. We probably would have to have a, just like with the skate park folks, just agreement with the Friends of the Palo Alto Parks to have a spot for the money to go.
Well, they have it
basically.
already in the dog park. I mean, I think they've got that part of it. It's just our part of putting it on this particular website, if it's okay with it.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with doing that at all.
That's great. Good.
And can you add some information about the Mitchell Park Dog Park update that's in progress onto the website?
Yeah, that's actually the kind of the second aspect of the webpage itself. And it has the first part is about our kind of our current system, and then it does have a part about our current and future basic project. So I think another aspect that's on there as well is our current dog park policy. So people can refer to the policy. I don't know if that's really out there for people to see very much, but it just houses that information as well.
Great.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for all of your recreation website update.
Thank you, Commission.
So thank you, Peter. And Javad is with us now. He's been doing a lot of great work with the website Ad Hoc, Mandy and myself. So this next item is a discussion item. It's not an action. And the website Ad Hoc has been meeting and talking about updates that would make sense for the Parks and Recreation Commission landing page. So the goals of tonight's or the goals of the website update are to make it more user friendly and with an improved layout, to increase transparency and public access to the commission documents and really the work that the commission's doing, and then taking a step backward to be more consistent and conform with the formatting that the other commission web pages are using. So that's kind of been our general focus. We've met with LOM and with Javad a couple times, and made some recommendations. Javad has done some great work putting together a mock-up of what the new webpage will look like. And the goal of the discussion this evening is to get your feedback, to let you know what we're doing. We don't need any action to move forward with this, but we don't want to do this without bringing in the full commission. So we're interested in your feedback and your ideas for what we're missing or something that we can add. So Javad's got a nice presentation or active view of showing us the existing website and its changes. And I really want to thank him for all of his initiative and great work and quick work on this. So please show us what you have.
Thank you, Chair Greenfield. This is Javad Godes, coordinator with Open Space Parks and Golf. I'm going to be sharing my screen here. Let me know when you guys are able to see it. So on the left-hand side here, we'll see the old PRC landing page. And on the right-hand side is our sandbox page with the updates. And I'm going to scroll through and kind of point out some of the distinct differences. So again, left-hand side is the current live page, and the right-hand side is our sandbox page. We've added language for the commission's contributions to urban forestry here listed in the first paragraph and also at the final bullet. We have also updated side panels on the right-hand side to show assignments and work plans. This is where you'll find your ad hoc liaison list and the work plans as mentioned. I'm going to keep scrolling here. You will also notice that year-round recruitment and survey side panels have been removed. We have featured them in other parts of the website. Another side panel added is the current PRC priorities and subscribing to minutes, agendas, and meetings.
Javad, I'll just interrupt for a moment. And I mentioned that there's a number of items on the existing website, like the surveys that are out of date and we're as 6, 8, 10 years old or so. And so a lot of what we're doing is cleaning this up to bring it current and so that we can display information that's pertinent to the work that the commission's currently involved with.
It also matches a little better some of the other commissions so that folks that are looking for information at the various commissions aren't seeing completely different websites as they're combing through. So that was another thought that we had.
Thank you. But when you see stuff go away, it's because it doesn't really belong.
Moving on, we've moved the recruitment for the commission down here under the featured area of each commissioner. This is more in line with the other commission pages in hopes of creating consistency. I'm going to keep scrolling down here so you guys can see the old and the new. This area will stay the same. And then finally here at the bottom, we had a long running list of all of our documents, and I've now placed them into accordion items, which make it more accessible for screen readers. The 2 documents removed from resources were the work plans, which are now featured on the side panel along near the top of the screen. And then we have also removed some of the documents and updated them. Now, looking at this now, I see that Tide Gates document still needs to be added to the current policy topics. And I'm imagining the Mitchell Park dog park expansion presentation we can add there as well. And you'll see these other documents listed here.
Right, and I'll just point out that this is a lot of great work is in the sandbox, which will be the new website, but it is still a work in progress, and it basis, and so the ad hoc is still going to be meeting to flesh out what bullets to include in the document area there.
So I'm going to move over to the agendas and minutes page. Get that share up. So again, it's the same format over here. On the left-hand side, you'll see the live page. On the right-hand side, you're going to see our sandbox. We featured the urban forestry information here in the opening paragraph. And then scrolling down, you'll see that all video links to past meetings have been updated. Minutes with the amendments have been made. And staff presentations will be added to agendas as attachments as provided. Draft minutes will be uploaded and then renamed once the commission amendments have been made. And then you'll also see a new column here for public comment. In this area, I will be uploading a single file showing all the public comments submitted via email from the 4 weeks in between the meetings, flushing out any spam. And we added a statement here at the bottom just to add consistency. Not too many changes here on the agenda and minutes page, just trying to make things more accessible, more consistent across the different commission pages.
But I will comment real quickly that one of the big updates on the agenda and minutes pages is filling in all the minutes and video links and updating that. So thank you for that work, Javad. That's appreciated. And Ann, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask why, can you go down a little bit or go back up, I guess. Yeah, right there. So why do we recruit on our page for the Human Relations Commission? Are we doing that for all the other commissions, or was that left over from something?
This is a feature that the city clerk has placed on each commission page for active recruitment.
It looked like it. I saw one last time when I looked at the old page, and it just looked like it was out of place, like it was meant for another commission. But if it comes from the city clerk, I get it. So thank you.
Well, like other websites that put ads up, we're getting some here as well.
Another comment here on the agendas page, I will be trying to capture the commission's actions and motions passed to the summary minutes. So hopefully adding that to our minutes as well.
So also about the public comments, will they have any answers, or are they just be what individual members have said?
Just what individual members have submitted.
So looking at the column there, it is a little bit confusing, and I know we're following what we saw, I believe, on the Planning and Transportation Commission page with the public comment column. But this is where emails that are sent in by the public will be posted, and so it's increased transparency so that any emails that come in either before or after a commission meeting will be posted. And so for example, emails on an item that we receive would be visible to the public and accessible before we discuss things in the same way that we can see things, the public will be able to see them. But public comment is kind of confusing in that it's letters received via email, or perhaps if someone actually sent in a physical letter, it would be included. But Javad, I guess that's a question for you to take back to staff. Is there a better name for that column? We want to conform to what the rest of the city's doing, but it is a little confusing in that obviously public comments during meetings aren't transcribed and added into that area.
Maybe letters from the public or something like that. Because public comment, like if I think about some of the other cities, some people think that they can go there and comment.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's letters received or something like that, maybe.
I appreciate that feedback, and staff will work on creating appropriate language.
Do we need to collate the responses to the letters received and upload there, or how does it work?
So there is no specific response or obligation to respond. But we can comment on things during meetings, but we're not, there is no direct response.
Can you show the page that this one originates from? Like when I go to the city website, how do I get here?
Yeah, so this is accessed via the Parks and Rec Commission landing page. Again, I'm sharing it here, and you'll see it featured in this green button titled 2022 Agendas and Minutes.
All right. So do we have a parks page also? Like
We do.
with all
Feature those pages. I'm gonna just go up here to Community Services.
Mhm.
And then we have this drop down, and I'm going to select open. Sorry, I'm going to try to enlarge in this so you guys can see open space and parks.
Mhm.
And then we have this one page, which I'll show you first. It's neighborhood parks with a map showing you all the different parks in the area. And you can kind of click, and I think there's a feature, if you use this on your phone, you can determine your location and see what's around you.
Cool. So do we have a link to the commission from this page?
We can definitely add that. I appreciate the feedback. I want to show you this other page we have too, which is just a search feature for open space and parks. You can search by phrase, category, feature. So these two pages are available. And we will add links to this map from the commission page.
The easiest way to get to the commission page is to go back up and hover on City Hall. And then you can go down to on the left and select the Parks and Rec Commission.
Okay. I just thought it could connect it, so it's fine. I'm not going to insist on that, only if you find it helpful.
Other comments or suggestions? Javad, maybe you could also include an update on how emails to the, how the public comments and emails to the commission will be handled in terms of passing them along to us. Because we've been talking about some great updates there as well.
Yeah, so every Monday I'll be sending out an email to the commission of email received from the prior week. The week prior to a commission meeting, I'll be sending it on the Monday and Friday prior to. The week of a commission meeting, I'll be sending that Monday and Tuesday throughout the day as emails come in to make sure the commission stays up to date with public comments that are submitted.
And if we don't get an email, that means there weren't any emails received. We're not going to receive an email saying there were no emails.
Correct. One final note on this page. I don't know if we want to mention it now. It's just the bios. Some other commission pages do have bios listed for each member. If we want to be even more transparent and more accessible, other commission pages are doing that.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. When the city updated to the new format website, all of our previous bios were lost for those of us who had been on the commission. So all of the commissioners should be submitting a bio to Javad so that he can update it on the website. And if you don't have a photo yet, you should submit a photo, or if you'd like to update your photo, you should submit an updated photo. But I would strongly encourage all commissioners to have their photo and bio information sent to staff so that's updated before our next commission meeting. And I will be doing the same. Any other comments? Gerard, I want to thank you. Again, this is a great work that's come together quickly, and it's something that's been kind of, for me, certainly not nagging on the list of the to-do list for a number of years now. And it's great to see it getting done. And also we're talking about doing things in a sustainable manner. So they'll be updated over time. If any commission members have any updates they'd like to suggest to the website, please send it to the you can send it to Mandy and me as the website ad hoc, and then we can parse it and pass it on to Javad. And Javad will be working with me on a monthly basis to add pertinent documents to the accordions so that from our landing page we can easily access things we're working on, and the public can see things as well. So I think it'll be a big improvement for our individual usage and also for public transparency. Lam, your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to piggyback on your comments and acknowledge Javad's work. Javad, since joining our team, has been immensely contributing to not just these webpage updates as well, but he's also assisted in the division work outside of the commission work. So we're glad to have him on board, and I'm very excited to see this work come through. This is something that we, as you mentioned, have struggled with for a while. Bandwidth, we just haven't had the bandwidth to work on this, but now that we have Javad on board, not only do we have more bandwidth, but we also have a knowledge that he brings and expertise that he brings pertinent to this ad hoc as well, and supporting the commission. So thank you, Javad.
I appreciate the kind words, and I definitely look forward to participating with the commission in many future meetings.
Thank you. And we'll be, the ad hoc will continue to work with you and work to get these updates live. That concludes our business items, and we're now on to commissioner board member questions, comments, announcements, and future agenda items. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or announcements they'd like to share? Okay, then we can talk about upcoming agenda items.
Yes, Chair. For our July agenda, we are looking at possibly having discussion on the skate park, discussion on the horizontal levee, discussion on a dog park park improvement ordinance, and then that's for July, and possibly some future items. There's some discussion of when we may want to bring utilities undergrounding in the foothills to the commission.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last time?
There was also a potential, depending on timing, of bringing for July an update in regards to our utilities department and their undergrounding of utilities in the foothills. That, though, is to be determined where we place it, whether we place it in July or perhaps a meeting after that.
Right, and then there's also a number of potentials, so we're going to have to balance priorities, but funding opportunities will return at some point, hopefully July or August, park dedication as well. And there was one other item.
Yes, there are two more. There's in a future agenda to be determined when, bringing a tree annual report to the commission. And then also an advanced, going back to revisiting the advanced water purification system at the water quality control plant.
And then there's also BCCP when that's ready, the Baylands Comprehensive Conservation Plan. Okay, the other thing I was thinking about was the utilities at Foothills and it's Rascadero as well, I guess.
Yes, sorry, my reference to foothills, in the foothills earlier is a general, not necessarily Foothills Nature Preserve, but in the foothills area.
Yep. Great. Any other suggestions from commission members of things they'd like to see on an upcoming agenda? If your ad hoc has not been discussed as coming forward or has not presented this year already, let's think about how to move forward in the fall and getting to the commission and sharing with us. Any other further discussion before we adjourn? Okay, I do want to thank again Nadia for being here with us this evening and helping us out. It's nice to meet you and appreciate your assistance. I want to thank Javad and Lam and all of staff for everything they've done for us, and want to wish everyone a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.